These are the experiences of people who have suffered a bereavement. My father died 6 weeks ago after an 18-month struggle with cancer. Now, I can't get the picture of him at his worst, pale, very thin, not able to sit up, out of my mind. I wish I could remember him as he was when he was well 2 years ago, but I can't. I feel so guilty. I wish I could have done more. After 45 years of marriage, I lost my wife 6 months ago. Thankfully, she only had a short period of illness. I don't seem to be able to cope with it. I still keep expecting her to walk through the door. I sometimes feel she's present during the night, but I always wake up disappointed. My husband was killed in a car crash earlier this year, and I'm left on my own to bring up two small children. I feel so lonely and isolated. Sleeping is a problem, and at times I feel angry with my husband for leaving me to cope on my own, even though I know it's the last thing he would have wanted for us. As you can see, people can have quite different experiences when they lose someone close to them. This video aims to help you to understand some of the emotions which may be faced during a bereavement or loss, and to make some practical suggestions which may help to get you through this difficult time, and to offer some basic details of what needs to be done when there is a death. At the end, there are some organisation details which may be helpful to you. Serious loss is something which we will all face at some time in our lives. This may be because of the death of someone close to us, or it may be because of other circumstances, such as the loss of our health or our home. Many of us will not experience bereavement or loss until later in life, and may have little opportunity to learn about death and about how people are affected by grief. It can seem difficult to know what is so-called normal, and to understand how we or our families may respond when we face a loss. You may think you are the only person who felt like you do. And whilst everyone's response to a loss is a very individual experience, there are some common experiences that many people will share. People often describe shock soon after the death of such a person. They may feel numb, panicky, very weepy, or unable to cry at all. Some people find it difficult to sleep. Others may have physical symptoms such as heart palpitations. Some people find they calmly go through the practical details of the death and worry that they may be seen as uncaring. That is just another sign of shock, and it is most likely that they will feel the impact of the death at a later point. Some people find themselves completely unable to cope and need a lot of practical and emotional support from those around them at this point. Some people feel a sense of agitation for quite a long time after the death. People may become very active at this time, doing things like cleaning out the whole house. And this agitation can sometimes amount to panic and symptoms of anxiety, or breathlessness, palpitations, dry mouth, tingling, and dizziness. These can all be present. Some people may feel they are almost as if they're going mad because they have such odd experiences. People often report that they thought they saw or felt the dead person near them or in the distance. These experiences are not unusual following a death. These feelings may alternate with depression, weepiness, tiredness, and low mood. People may think or wonder, What's the point in going on? They may feel guilt and review the circumstances around the death and their relationship with the person that has died. They wonder what they could have done differently, what might have helped the situation. This is also common when there has been relief at someone's death following a painful and prolonged illness. It is worth remembering that many people do feel relief when suffering ends. People also often do feel angry after a death. This can be directed at the deaf person. Why has he left me? Or at other people around. So family members or people involved in caring for the dying person may be a target for the bereaved person's anger. They may think or ask, well, why didn't you do more? Other people's reactions may be also difficult for the bereaved person. Sometimes people can be clumsy in what they say or they do. Occasionally, people will avoid contact with the person who is being bereaved. These reactions are usually because other people do not know how to handle bereavement, and sometimes other people do not realise that it can take a long time to begin to recover from a death. Coming to terms with a death is a very gradual process, which can take considerable time. People usually find that gradually they are able to get on with their lives and to think a little less about the person they have lost. Most people begin to feel like this within 1 or 2 years of the death of the person close to them. And it may still be difficult to accept the death of a loved one, but possible to move on with life in spite of this. It is important not to feel guilty if you are beginning to build a life for yourself following a death. It is normal to begin to recover and to start to rebuild your own life, and is not in any way disloyal to the memory of the person who has died. Your doctor may offer you tranquilizers to help you through the early phase following death. Tranquilizers can make you feel calmer and may help you in the short term, but are not helpful for longer term use. Some people find the numbing effect of tranquilizers does not allow them to experience grief during this time. Antidepressants can be helpful if the depression itself following bereavement becomes severe or prolonged. Bereavement is always a difficult time, but there are things you can do to help yourself through it. Prepare for the death of someone you are close to. It is important, emotionally and practical, to talk things over. If you are preparing for the death of your partner, discuss with them the jobs your partner has always taken on and sort this out. Say all the things you would have wanted to say. Carefully consider whether you want to see the body of the dead person. Some people may feel this is too distressing, but can regret it later on if they have not done this. Follow your own feelings. There is no right or wrong thing to do, but do think it out. Funeral arrangements should be considered carefully. Try to have someone with you. Don't feel pressured into a funeral that is too expensive for your own budget. Try and think about what you really want. Don't make major changes in your life, such as selling your house, moving areas, jobs, etc., until you've the time to adjust to the death. This is a time when people may make changes they can then regret. Do make sure you look after your own health. This is a time when you yourself may become prone to illness. Eat well, rest properly, take extra care. You may want to take vitamin supplements if your appetite is very poor. Talk to people about how you feel. Don't bottle things up. Go to your doctor if you feel you have no one else you can talk to. He or she may suggest speaking to a counsellor. And if your health is not good, consult your doctor. Keep up your contacts and your relationships. Accept invitations. Invite people to visit you. Keep in touch with family and friends. Find out about local events or clubs or even classes. Ask for help if you feel you are not coping. Talk to family, friends, or your doctor. Do not enter into new financial arrangements without proper advice. Talk to a friend or family member. Do not turn to drinking to get you over this difficult time. Plan what you will do on anniversaries, such as birthdays, Christmas, or the anniversaries of the death. It will help if you decide in advance how you want to spend these, which are likely to be emotional times. If you feel you are stuck or not coping at all well with your grief, then contact your doctor to discuss this. There are different organisations which may help you. Family and friends can help at this difficult time. Spend time with the bereaved person if that is what they want. Talk and listen to the bereaved person. Don't be afraid of saying the wrong thing. This is a situation many of us feel awkward about. It may help to admit that you actually don't know what to say if that is how you feel. Don't be surprised if the bereaved person wants to talk and go over the same ground again and again. This is quite usual. Don't take anger or irritability personally. It is part of their bereavement reaction. Talking about the dead person can be helpful for the grieving person. And don't try and avoid mentioning them in everyday conversation. Offer practical help if the bereaved person wants this. Caring for children, help with shopping, etc. may be useful, especially in the early days following a death. Don't expect too much of the bereaved person initially, even if they look as if they are coping. Include your relative in social events. Support your relative in building new links, social contact, and interests. Try to discourage the bereaved person from making any major decisions, such as moving home shortly after the death. Support them in thinking through the options and the implications of this. If your friend or relative seems stuck and is not coping at all well, encourage them to seek help. The family doctor is a good place to start, and there are other organisations that may help. When someone dies at home, a doctor must be called to sign a medical certificate. If the death has been sudden, the doctor will have to talk to the police, who will report it to the coroner. A post-mortem examination may be arranged. When someone dies in hospital, the doctor there will give you a medical certificate. Once you have the medical certificate, you must take it to the registry office and register the death within 5 days. The registrar will issue a death certificate, a notification of disposal, which should be given to the funeral director. Make a few copies of the death certificate. You may need these for pension and insurance purposes. A funeral director can be chosen before or after you have registered the death. Most people obtain a name from the telephone directory or by word of mouth. He or she will advise on the procedures for the funeral. Contact your Social Security office or your local benefits agency to arrange pension or any other entitlements. You may be eligible for funeral payment or widow's payment. Inform the tax office about your change in circumstances. You may want to put a death notice in the local or national papers. If there is a will, the executors will make sure it is carried out. Contact the solicitor. If there is no will, contact the probate registry for an application to administer the estate. Your local Citizens Advice Bureau can help you if you are not sure.